What's up everybody, this is the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. So about the Wilderness version of the Crosstrek, well, they took the very nice 2024 Crosstrek that I reviewed earlier this year, and then they just amped it up even more. So they gave it 0.6 inches of extra ground clearance. It also has more off-road capability in various ways. We have some all-terrain tires here and the much more aggressive looks especially. And so up front there you will see you have those unique LED fog lights there and lots more body cladding. You also have a unique grille there, and it gives it a much angrier look, I think. And you have a skid plate, an aluminum skid plate underneath as well to help protect the vital components of this vehicle whenever you are taking it off the beaten path. And as far as your capabilities whenever you are off-road, you have 20 degrees of approach angle, which is 2 degrees more than before. You also have a 33-degree departure angle, which is almost 3 degrees better than before, and a 21.1 degree breakover, which is 1.4 degrees better than before. So between all of those, you're going to have much better capability. And on top of all of that, you also have a shorter final drive ratio, which allows you to do some better climbing than before. And I'll talk all about that stuff whenever we get out on the road and drive. But other things here, you'll see you have this black vinyl graphic on the hood here, and that is supposed to help cut down glare whenever you are climbing, and so that it's not reflecting off the hood as much. And then coming down to the sides here, lots more body cladding than even the regular Crosstrek, which wasn't short for body cladding before, but now you have even more to protect things even more. And you also have these unique 17-inch wheels with, like I said, these Geolandar all-terrain tires, which give you a little bit of extra grip there than regular, passenger tires you get on a regular Crosstrek. Also down the sides here, you'll see the Wilderness badge and very bold Crosstrek lettering there. And also you'll see the roof rack here. So you see the copper accents. That's a Wilderness trait they've done ever since the original. And so these roof rack rails, though, now can support 700 pounds whenever the car is sitting still. So you can put, rooftop tents, all that kind of stuff on there. And so really cool, they gave it that extra versatility as well. And then going out to the back there, it's also very bold. I think it's hilarious how they have Subaru stamped across the rear bumper there, and the cladding so large. It is almost retro looking because of how just hilariously large it is. But aside from that, just again, more cladding, and nothing else has really changed up back there otherwise. But I do have to say that this unique blaze orange pearl color is really nice looking as well. It's fun to see more colors here being offered by various companies, and Subaru's done a good job in the past, but it's really great to see a very cool distinctive color here for the Crosstrek Wilderness as well. The interior of the Crosstrek Wilderness is basically the same as any other 2024 Crosstrek. The unique things here for the Wilderness version are the copper accents you see on the steering wheel and on the seats. You also get these unique StarTex water repellent seats that Subaru has, and they've been using that in all the other Wilderness versions of other Subarus as well. And they're actually nice and soft and comfortable. They're just not perforated. I guess that helps with the water repellent feature, but just means they might get a little hot in the summer with breathability, but otherwise, just great seats here, nice and soft and comfortable. And here as an option, you have 10-way power adjustable seats. That is still an option here. All the Wilderness versions come pretty well loaded. They all come with a big screen, but the $1,300 option package gives you the power seat. It gives you the Harman Kardon stereo, which is about 430 watts of power, and this one has that, and it also gives you the moonroof, all for that package. So this one's a little over $35,000 all in, and so there's very few options for these, so it keeps it nice and simple as far as shopping and ordering one if you want. But anyway, yeah, great steering wheel still nonetheless, with nice 10 and 2 notches and a comfortable grip. The gauges are pretty basic here. You have just the copper rings once again for the Wilderness version, but the same basic gauges as any other Crosstrek. Kind of underwhelming these days, with some of the competitors offering something a little more advanced, but they get the job done, and it's all good. You have this 11.6-inch touchscreen, and the nice thing here for 2024 is that it now has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. That's a thing they added recently, and so it's nice that you have that wireless integration. Otherwise, everything else works okay. I'm still not in love with this screen. As you see, even just me turning on the radio is a little slow still after several years. This screen's been in the Outback, I think, since 2020, and they still haven't improved the speed of this screen, unfortunately. I don't love it, but it's not the end of the world. It's usable still, and I wouldn't say it's the worst infotainment system out there, but certainly not the best either. And just all the basic functions all are pretty well arranged. It's pretty easy to sort through everything. It's just the speed that's really the main problem there. But anyway, you have a wireless charging pad here now as well, although there's no real groove or anything to hold your phone in place. So a nice thing in theory. I don't know in practice how well that will work, but you also see your other jacks there, and you know, heated seat controls and all that here by your cup holders, and you have a nice soft center armrest with you know, some space in there. And going to the back seat, it's a good amount of space as well. I'm 5'9", we're sitting behind myself. I still have a couple inches of legroom to spare. They do a really good job with how small this vehicle is of having a good amount of space. And you know, they also have a fold down center armrest, USB jacks there as well. And then the cargo space is also pretty good. Again, for a vehicle that's as small as this is, you have about 20 cubic feet of cargo space behind the rear seats there. And you know, here for the Wilderness version, you get the rubber mat there in the back. And it's nice to have the cup holders. There's also a little light in the tailgate as well, which will shine down on you. It's kind of handy at night there to give you some extra visibility whenever you get back from a day of being out doing whatever you're doing. And so anyway, you know, a good amount of space, and just this whole little vehicle is just very, very practical and still very comfortable, and just a nice place to be here on the inside. But let's start up and go for a drive. The Wilderness here has the same key as any other Subaru Crosstrek that has the keyless access here, which is a nice key, and a little on the thick side, but not too bad. Just a really nice key. And it is keyless access, keyless entry, and push button start. So you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. Alright, so setting off here in the Crosstrek Wilderness. So the first thing that you'll probably notice about it, well, you have excellent visibility like any other Crosstrek. I mean, you have a nice large windshield, the dashboard drops down nicely, nice thin A-pillars, mirrors off onto the doors. So I mean, great visibility everywhere you look here, and that really helps, especially when you're off-roading as well. View out of the back is great. The only thing I will say about visibility, if you are someone who does plan to do some off-roading, it would be nice to see a front camera here. That's something that the Forester Wilderness and the Outback Wilderness both have or offer. This does not, so that is going to be one thing that, you know, you're going to be missing here compared to those. And that certainly does help if, you know, you're going up, you know, large obstacles, things like that, where it helps to see over the nose a little bit. And so it's unfortunate you don't have that, but that's the only little thing you're missing compared to the other Wilderness versions as far as visibility goes, at least. Other things here, though, to note, all the driver inputs are really well done in most Subarus, and especially here the naturally aspirated ones. You have a nice responsive throttle. You have a brake pedal that has a little bit of dead travel, so it's easy to be smooth with, but it's, you know, still really nice and responsive as well. Steering's also nice and light here, and it's always appreciated. Just a very easy vehicle to drive. Now, the one thing is, you know, you still have a CVT transmission here, and like all Subaru CVTs, it's not one of the most direct ones out there. Some of the other newer ones these days are a little sharper, feel a little more like a normal automatic. This one still is a little slushy with its response, but it's fine. You get used to it after a while, and especially if you're someone who's coming out of another Subaru, you know, you'll still feel right at home here because they've used these CVTs for a long time, and it's not a big deal once you know, learn how it works and you know, learn to live with, you know, driving it. And so not a big deal there. Now, one thing they did change with the gearing for the Wilderness version here is that you went from, it's a shorter final drive now, so you went from a 370 final drive to a 411 final drive, and so that's going to give you a little bit of a peppier acceleration. Now you're still working with the same engine as a regular Crosstrek, so you know, it's still not a huge boost in power, but it's at least a little bit of help, and that's the same change they made with the Forester Wilderness as well. And you know, so it's definitely, you know, a nice thing. Shorter gearing is always better, aside from fuel economy, which I'll get to later in this video. But anyway, we're gonna go and turn down onto this back road here. I'm gonna put it into the sport mode for the SI drive, which just basically sharpens throttle response, and that's it. Let's turn down on the back road here and see how it does. Here we go. There we go. It seemed like it was holding back for a second there for some reason. I'm not sure why. Anyway, it's still not quick, unfortunately. So you have the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. It is the 2.5, so they did improve that. That's something they started offering with the last generation towards the end of that generation, and now offer it here again here on the 2024s. And so it's 182 horsepower, 178 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60, I think Car and Driver with a regular Crosstrek with this motor got like an 8.1 seconds 0 to 60. So I mean, it is not quick, but you know, it's not the end of the road either. It's still average. A lot of crossovers in this segment do very similar acceleration, so it's, you know, not a big deal. But if you want a punchy Wilderness Subaru, the Outback is definitely the one to get. That's the only one that offers the turbo engine, which gives you a lot more power, and especially if you live somewhere in higher elevations where a turbo really would come in handy, that's going to be the obvious pick. Definitely go for that if you can at all afford it. But you know, this is still gonna be fine. I mean, Crosstrek owners love their Crosstreks despite the fact that, you know, they don't have a bunch of power, and, you know, so I don't think it's something to really get too hung up on. One nice thing though about the shorter gearing here is that it does help with your tow rating. In addition to the fact that there's now a stronger radiator fan and an oil cooler now, the towing rating has gone from 1,500 pounds to 3,500 pounds, which is a huge improvement. It will really help with towing, you know, more of your off-road gear or whatever it is you want to take with you, and that's really nice. But anyway, coming off some corners here that we always take, a little bit dark here, so we can try out it has these steering responsive headlights, which are a nice thing that they've added to all these higher end Crosstreks here for 2024, and it's really great to have. And so anyway, as far as the handling here, they kept the weight pretty light because they didn't add too much here, so these are just over 3,400 pounds. And really, as far as the suspension goes, you know, it really is just taller springs, so handling still feels very similar to a regular Crosstrek, just a little bit higher off the ground. And these Yokohama Geolandar all-terrain tires, you know, are going to give you a little bit less on-road grip, I suppose, but, you know, they're not super extreme tires still, so we're not talking about drastic differences once again, so it's not really a big deal. I think, honestly, I mean, first impression of going around corners, you know, it is, yes, maybe ever so slightly worse handling than a regular Crosstrek that I took on these same back roads earlier this year, but it's still totally fine. Again, for a vehicle like this, totally fine. I'm not going to dwell on the handling because it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But the real advantage with Subarus is, you know, since they have that horizontal engine, it really gives you a lower center of gravity than comparable vehicles that have, you know, similar amounts of ground clearance and are, you know, trying to be rugged as well. So I think it certainly does have an inherent advantage to it that, you know, you don't get with the others here. And, you know, it's just a really nice, relaxed thing to drive. They did such a good job, you know, of just making them really well set up for daily driving. It's just a soft, comfortable ride, and it's also not too loud either. You know, with these tires, you would think that maybe they'd make a little bit of extra noise, and maybe they do at higher speeds, but at least here at, you know, suburban, back road kind of speeds, I don't think they're honestly really any noisier than a regular Crosstrek's tires. So I think they did a really good job with all of that, and yeah, so just a really nice thing to cruise around in. And beyond the extra off-road capability that I mentioned in the beginning of the video here with the extra clearances and all that, one other thing that you do get here with the Wilderness versions is you get the dual mode X mode system. So the X mode is baked into the all-wheel drive system, and typically it just has like a snow and a dirt mode to help loosen things up so you're able to have a little bit of wheel spin and get yourself out of that stuff. But there's also now a deep snow and mud mode that you get here for the Wilderness versions, and so that's going to give you extra capability. And that also comes along that you also get a hill descent control system, which will help you to basically have downhill cruise control at low speeds to help you to focus on just steering if you want whenever you are doing some off-road adventuring. And you know, the all-wheel drive system is Subaru's typical mechanical symmetrical all-wheel drive system that they have, and you know, it's famous for being, you know, a very good all-wheel drive system here in the snow, and you know, should be great, you know, as far as off-road capability goes. And I think, you know, the fact that this has more ground clearance than like a Bronco Sport Badlands and a lot of other, you know, more off-road ready vehicles, you know, I think really is a testament to just how good this vehicle is. And you know, I think, again, the shorter gearing will certainly help with climbing and things like that. And so I think that you know, this is probably going to be a really good little off-roader for most people's normal off-roading that they're doing, you know, unless you're doing rock climbing or something where, you know, you need a Wrangler or a Bronco for. But aside from that, you know, I think this is going to really be enough for most people and should do really well. And now we're out on the highway here in the Crosstrek Wilderness, and at, you know, regular highway speeds, it's nice and smooth and comfortable as well. And we can even turn on, it does have adaptive cruise control here, so that's something that's now standard here in the Crosstreks and all Subarus, I believe, here now. So it does have the steering assist, the lane keep assist system. It's a hands-on system, but it still does have that here. And so as we had a car just cut in front of us here, you know, it does a good job of slowing down. And it actually, I'm glad that it doesn't have an enormous gap usually. You know, it's one of the better adaptive cruise control systems in my opinion. All of them are still a little overly cautious most of the time, but this one seems to do a pretty good job here. And I've tested it in other Subarus in the past, and I've been, you know, pretty happy with it for the most part. The steering assist is really good. The only thing I will say about the safety tech that's kind of annoying is that if you don't like having a lane departure alert on, or the assistance, if you turn that system off, then you always have this orange light in the gauge cluster warning you that we're not helping you with lane keep assist. And it's like, yeah, I can drive, I don't need help staying in my lane. You don't need to warn me that that system is not active all the time. Other car companies don't shove that in your face. and basically, you know, coerce you into trying to turn that stuff on. So that's the only thing that I can say that's a little bit annoying here about the safety tech, but otherwise, you know, it works really well. But I'm just really happy that even at highway speeds here, you don't have, you know, a bunch of roar from the tires. You might hear a little bit, but I mean, it's so quiet in here still nonetheless that, you know, as long as you're not sitting in complete silence, you probably won't ever even notice. And even when you do, like I said, it's barely noticeable. So a really good job with the refinement still. And, you know, there's not too much compromise with this very off-road capable little vehicle here. But anyway, thanks to Subaru, I will have the Crosstrek Wilderness for an entire week here. So I'm going to drive around all over the place. Then I'll come back and give you guys my final real-world fuel economy, as well as my thoughts on the pricing, how it compares to its competitors, and anything else that I noticed here during my week of driving. All right, so I've been driving the Crosstrek Wilderness for a few more days here now, and overall, it's still a really nice driving experience. I've always just felt at home in Crosstreks. It's a comfortable, easy to master kind of experience, and it's just, you know, all the driver controls are so well done, with the brake pedal being nice and responsive. And, you know, I think the only thing is I still wish that they would refine their CVT feel. It's just more slushy than most other CVTs these days, which, you know, most other companies have refined them, tried to make them feel more normal. This still feels very much like a CVT, and I just wish they'd do a little more work on the feel in that, but that's just a nitpick. Another little nitpick I will mention very briefly, though, is that these headrests are rock hard. That's one thing I discovered this week. These are some of the hardest headrests I've ever encountered in a car. I don't know why. They must be stuffed with sand or something, but they are not very soft. So, dumb little thing, but just one other thing I noticed. I'm still also now in the colder months here really wishing for a heated steering wheel. None of the Wilderness models offer it, so I don't certainly expect it in this if they can't even, you know, put it in the Outback and the Forester. But it'd just be really nice to have a heated steering wheel, but especially I'm assuming that a lot of the people that buy Wilderness versions live in snowy areas, and that's what they want the extra ground clearance for. And so not having a heated steering wheel is a big miss, and it's not, you know, an expensive, hard, exotic option like it used to be. It's not some high ticket item, and so I don't know why they just, you know, can't put heated steering wheels on the Wilderness versions as standard, or at least as an option. I think that'd be an easy, no-brainer addition here that I think most buyers would really appreciate. But I do really love how, you know, especially with the Wilderness version here having the extra ground clearance, it does give you that kind of fun adventure, ready for anything kind of vibe here. And you know, like all of a sudden we're on a road that's just been ground down for repaving, and it's got potholes and big things like that, and it's just having the worry-free experience of, you know, having, you know, the big thick sidewall tires, lots of ground clearance, you know, just that ready for anything kind of vibe is just really enjoyable, and I think a lot of people are really starting to appreciate that more and more. And so, you know, again, most regular Crosstreks are also very much the same, with, you know, being very capable, having more ground clearance than the average crossovers in this segment, but this being even more so, you know, having the extra, you know, skid plate and all that, you know, just gives you a little bit of extra confidence that you don't have to worry whenever you're, you know, facing a situation where things aren't ideal. But really the last few things I mentioned here are the fuel economy and the pricing and how this compares to its competition. So as far as fuel economy goes, now these are rated at 25 mpg in the city, 29 on the highway, and 27 combined. And that combined figure is 2 mpg less than what you get with a regular Crosstrek for 2024 with this 2.5 liter engine. So that is just the shorter final drive ratio, and the tires, you know, that I'm guessing are hurting that fuel economy. So if you want the best fuel economy, skip the Wilderness version. But, you know, it's 2 mpg, it's not the end of the world, and I didn't drive this vehicle enough, honestly, to really give an accurate fuel economy rating. I'm currently getting 21 mpg, but I think if I put more miles on it, it would certainly climb. Whether it would hit those, you know, estimates, I'm not sure, but, you know, regardless, you know, it still would be nice to see some type of hybrid from Subaru here for the Crosstrek eventually. They had it in the past, and it, you know, this didn't sell very well, wasn't the best setup, but I really wish that, you know, there was something to improve the fuel economy here a little bit in these, because, you know, a little 4-cylinder hatchback, essentially, you know, struggling to get into the 30s for fuel economy is still just a little bit disappointing, to be totally honest, but it is what it is. Subaru buyers don't seem to really care, and so I'm not going to dwell on it. But The last thing to mention here, though, is the pricing and how it compares to the competition. And I guess even if you're spending a few extra bucks on gas, you'll be saving it whenever it comes to buying the vehicle, so maybe it all works out in the end. But I mean, this one, you know, has basically all the options, like I said, with the Harman Kardon stereo and the moonroof, that makes this one about $35,500, and that's basically fully loaded. And it's impressive that they really do keep the prices so low at Subaru, even for, you know, this adventure-ready top trim of the Crosstrek. And that's really the strength of Subarus in general, but especially the Crosstrek in this Wilderness version. You know, a comparable Bronco Sport Badlands, which admittedly does have a lot more horsepower, but does have a little bit less space as far as rear seat space goes, at least in my experience. But anyway, those are, you know, like 40 grand easy, and they can easily balloon even well beyond that. And so, you know, that's the strength here of this, is that it is cheap. It's cheaper than everything else it competes with. It has way more ground clearance than everything it competes with, honestly. And even some of the stuff that's, you know, more rugged outside of, you know, an actual full-blown Bronco or Wrangler, you know, I mean, it's really going to be tough to beat 9.3 inches of ground clearance in anything, honestly. And so, you know, it's just really great that you have so much capability. You know, you have a good all-wheel drive system. It has the different, you know, modes there to help you out, and it's just going to be a really good little off-roader, as long as, again, you don't worry about straight line speed or fuel economy, or, you know, the most niceties, as long as those things don't bother you, because those are things, you know, you can get a heated steering wheel in a Bronco Sport, you know, you can get more power. All those things other companies have fixed what Subaru won't do, and so there's some potential there. If you are missing out on some of that stuff, you can get it in the other competitors. But if you don't care about, you know, skimping on that stuff, and, you know, making do here with what the Crosstrek Wilderness offers, I think that it's, you know, a really fantastic little package. It's a very likable little vehicle here, and like I said, there's really not much else that can do what this can do, even remotely close to this price point. So I think it's just a very impressive little vehicle. And again, if you do want more space, there is the Forester Wilderness, which will give you extra space, and there's also, of course, the Outback Wilderness. If you do want the extra power, that's, you know, an option as well. Just, again, that is a little bit more expensive, but I've spent a week with both the Forester and the Outback. They're both great vehicles as well, and so it's nice that Subaru kind of now has something for everyone in the Wilderness lineup, and I think that they all have their place. They all are really great in their own ways, and so it just comes down to, you know, what form factor and, you know, what exactly you want out of your Wilderness trim. But I think now, having driven all three of them, the Outback is still my favorite, even though I don't love the CVT and throttle tuning with the turbo motor. I still think, you know, having the turbo punch is really nice. The extra luxuries of the Outback are really nice, the extra space. But I really like this Crosstrek Wilderness a lot as well. But anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the Crosstrek Wilderness. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Subaru for providing me here with this vehicle to review for you guys today. Please also like and subscribe to keep these videos coming. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.